That's hard to find in
somebody
the political world.
who's honest, who has integrity, somebody who is objective, not prejudiced, somebody who does not look after his own interests or his friends' interests or his party's interests, somebody who looks beyond individuals, somebody who can engage people, somebody who can gain the confidence and the trust of the people. Because to me, people's power is the most important thing.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you could, in our history, we have governments based on military power, based on political power, but just so long as you don't have people with you, of course, the people may be obedient, or may be docile, or they may be
passive,
non-argumentative or passive. But at the end of the day, you need to support the people. But of course, at the same time, you know, there's a saying that people get the government they deserve.
The government reflects the people.
It's a reflection of the people. It's a reflection of the level of education. It's a reflection of the level of comprehension of the people, of the goodness of the people. So, and I think that, you know, we have spent far too much time in our lives in blaming this or blaming that. And always find, I would say, scapegoats. I think perhaps it's time, but we take a reflection of ourselves. Who are we?
How are we involved in the crisis?
How we behave ourselves in our daily lives. Before we said, you know, you've got to change that, you've got to change this.
Look at yourself first.
Look at yourself. And stock taking.
Can you compare for me, briefly, if you may, the crisis that occurred in 1992, where you brought Thailand forward, and the crisis that we see today in 2010? Circumstances, of course, very different.
We have had troubles in the past, be it October 14 student uprising in 1971. We have had October the 6th.
1976. Yes.
That was the righteous backlash. We had Black May events, so 19 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Now we have the latest May events. The past crises were simpler. First of all, you know who the actors are.
Yes, sir.
There are always two sides. You know who they are. At least you know who the leaders are too. And the issues which broke them apart were more clear-cut. October the 14th, the students, the activists rebelled against the military government on the issue of the constitution, because they felt that they needed a new constitution which would be more liberal, which would give them, you know,
more rights.
More rights. October the 6th, that was a backlash. May events, even October the 6th, you knew who the actors were.
Yes, sir.
And who the leaders were, what the issues were. And the Black May, some 19 years ago, the issues were also quite clear-cut. There were two antagonists, two factions, and they wanted a more liberal constitution. They wanted the Prime Minister to be elected from the members of Parliament.
Yes,
they did not want outsiders, and they thought that they were betrayed by the military individuals. So the issues were quite clear-cut, and they were, you know, I would say they were all mostly one-dimensional issue. But this time there were multiple dimensional issues and
multiple actors.
Multiple actors too. You can only assume that such and such person is the gang leader, but there's so many other factors. There are so many players, so many actors. But the irony is that the ties. I always say that I don't know if it's good or bad thing, but the ties are not men of. I would say they're not men of principles. They're not people of principles. They don't have real convictions. They don't have real ideologies either. In other countries, people fight war, civil wars, be it the civil war in the States, be it the civil war in France or Britain or Russia or whatever, or China. They were fought on basic issues. In our case, for example, perhaps it's not a bad thing that we're not people of convictions or of ideology, because that allows us to be more tolerant, to be more flexible. But sometimes the irony is when we talk about the May events 19 years ago, yes, when they were clamoring for a prime minister who would have to be elected from the members of parliament, and when that particular individual would resign and things calmed down, and I was brought in to be prime minister. I was also a non-politician. I was not an elected member of parliament, and yet people forgot it over a few seconds.
They accepted you, though.
Yeah. So that's the point I'm trying to make to you. They fought hard and tooth and nail for a prime minister who had to be among the members of parliament. And yet, when he decided to leave because he was not a member of parliament, then I came in. It's the same situation, and nobody reacted.
So basically, they're not based on true ideologies, is what you're trying to say.
No. We in Thailand, we belong to what they call the soft culture.
Yes, sir. We're compassionate.
Yeah, forgiving. Sometimes we can overdo it too, but we are losing some of these traditional values, and that worries me, because this consumerism, this globalization, I think that all these external factors, of which we have gradually become a part, had a natural tendency to harden us, and that's why you see more violence in the last protest movement, in the last demonstrations. We saw some of the ugly aspects of demonstrations.
Events of the past week, Thailand has the opportunity to prove itself and the world the strength of its national culture and its commitment to pursuing justice, promoting national reconciliation, and building a socially inclusive society. Now, the part that I picked up in particular was pursuing justice. It seems as though that we have, to a certain extent, tried to pursue justice. But what happens when the individuals charged or alleged in the justice or the judicial process does not accept our version or the general version of justice?
Well, that goes back to what I said earlier about we talk about rule of law, we talk about social justice, we talk about justice procedure, judicial process, and yet we don't really have full understanding of the terms. On the one hand, you said that we must adhere to the rule of law, or you may say that the judicial process has flaws, and yet when the court verdict works in your favor, you accept it. But when it doesn't work in your favor, you don't accept it.
Exactly.
So it's not a matter of applying the concepts or the systems, but the people who come under those concepts and come under those systems have to understand. You cannot have it both ways. If you accept the rule of law, if you accept the judicial process, whatever verdict, be it against you or for you, you have to accept it.
Yes, sir.
So I think that what I said was merely in abstract terms, but actually the underlying point is that the people themselves have to understand what all these terms mean in terms of substance. Because you can talk about the titles are very, very fine and very, very, shall we say, they cheer you up. When you talk about the rule of law, and when you talk about the impartiality of the courts.